Let's talk about VDM arrest, VDM's release, and all the drama that has been embroiled around this whole situation. Welcome back to the Beer Parlour Podcast. My name is Kachi, your host, and today I'm going to be talking about, the VDM arrest and everything that has been happening around this situation in the past few days. I think it's been about 3 days now. He was arrested, and then today, being the 7th of May, 2025, he's been released. And I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, the EFCC also released a statement, telling the people why they arrested VDM. Today we're gonna break it down. Let's talk about it. First off, I'm gonna go ahead and read the statement that was released by the EFCC Commission. And here he says the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in the exercise of its mandate of tackling economic and financial crimes, invited Martins Innocent Osei owing to a series of petitions bordering on sundry issues of alleged financial crimes raised against him. He refused to show up in spite of several invitations sent to him through his known addresses and medium of communication. I'm going to read this all the way through so we kind of analyze this statement by the EFCC. So bear with me here, okay? The petitions pertain to grave allegations of financial malfeasance. I don't know what that word means, which cannot be ignored by the Commission. It is needful to admit that the Commission is aware of several unguarded attacks of the suspect against its operations. While such conduct is condemnable, his arrest was not informed by such attacks. The relevant law enforcement agency will be allowed to look into them. The EFCC has a lawful right to uphold Ose in custody like any other suspect being investigated by the Commission. The appropriate remand order was obtained in this regard. He has been offered an administrative bail and would be released after fulfilling all the bail conditions. The Commission appreciates the interest of Nigerians in its operations. The passion, enthusiasm, and torrential reactions to all of its activities are welcome. However, insinuations about its motive in carrying out its assignment should no longer continue. The EFCC should be allowed to do its job without fear or favor. As soon as investigations are concluded, charges will be filed. That's what they said. And I guess, I don't know what his name is, but the chairman of the EFCC, he released this statement. We all know who VDM is, very dark man. He's been this, will I say, not the Robin Hood, but, because he doesn't steal from people and give back to people, right? He gets, he helps people who are in tricky situations, say someone maybe was defrauded of some amount of money or by some business in Nigeria, right? He goes, on his platform because he has a huge following on the internet, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. He has a huge following. He goes on there and he talks about these things. And most times, those people who, owe or trying to defraud other people, they are brought, they come back to do what they are supposed to do, do the right thing or whatever. One situation I remember was him calling out the what's it called, this native doctor in Anambra State, Nigeria, Akwakuko Tiwaraki. That's one situation where a man, complained to, I guess complained to VDM or told VDM about the situation where he gave Akwakuko some money, in exchange or expecting some sort of wealth to come back to him, right? And Akwakuko was trying to scam him ultimately, and I think the money was returned back to him. So that's just one situation. And VDM has also been involved with a whole lot of charitable deeds. He's built boreholes for people in rural areas. He's paid tuition and helped needy people in Nigeria all over the country. So he definitely does a lot of good. For those of you who don't know who he is, he definitely has done a lot of good. But a lot of people also have issues with the way he carries out his goods or the deeds that he does, right? A lot of people have issues with them. Sometimes he doesn't fact check, he doesn't check things, he just goes ahead and talks about them. And in my opinion, he doesn't have the the politeness to go back, when he's wrong and say, hey, I was wrong about this. Maybe I shouldn't have done this way. He just moves ahead to the next one, which in my opinion, I think is not the best way to go. But you know, a lot of people have issues with that, and now that he's been arrested, or he was arrested a few days ago, we've seen a lot of people come out and celebrating that as well. We've seen the likes of Bobrisky, who's another Nigerian, another controversial Nigerian. Even though he didn't call any name, he or she, because you know we don't know where he is. Where, even though Bobrisky, I'm going to leave that one for another video, right? But even though Bobrisky wasn't necessarily name calling, but we know, or we can assume that Bobrisky was making references to VeryDarkMan, because Bobrisky was excited in that video, you know, making that video and excited and just singing. You know, a lot of people who don't necessarily like the character VDM, you know, have come out to you know, well, I say celebrate or jubilate, you know, which in my opinion I think is just crazy, right? Because regardless of whether you like somebody or not, you shouldn't jubilate if a circumstance like this, if they find themselves in a situation like this, which could literally be anybody, you know. And personally, I have my own reservations about VDM, but I didn't, you know, you're not gonna see me out here jumping and jubilating, because you know the way the EFCC arrested him, that was just inhumane on so many levels, and that could happen to anybody. But hear me out, right? That is the life of a tip of the average Nigerian every day. You know, the EFCC, even though they do a good job too in terms of the financial crimes and all that good stuff, right? They have their books that they should follow, but sometimes they go off script and do some things that are very inhumane. And especially in the case of VDM, it was just very inhumane. Like you don't arrest people in such manners, right? You don't you being a law agency, you don't go with a black a bag and cover the person's head. That's pretty much kidnapping. That's what kidnapping is. That's what abduction is. You know, and you say you have a warrant for his arrest, but that's not the way to go about it, though. Like, that's too much force, in my opinion. That's just unnecessary force, right? I mean, you have the men to arrest him. Your men were on ground. Excuse me, your men were on ground. You had the men to arrest him. Why do all that extra stuff? Why blindfold him before you put him in the car? And then there were alleged beatings and stuff like that, right? You know, rough handling, you know, and stuff like that. Why do all of that if you already have the men on ground? When you have the warrant, you can just literally arrest him, handcuff him, and put him in the van or the truck or whatever he came with and take him, right? Why do all that extra stuff? And that's where Nigerians are saying, hey, this is not right. This is not right. And me too, I believe that is not right. But anyway, he's been released. And here we are now. We want to just break it down and talk about it. The EFCC has alleged that there were a lot of financial petitions that we are, you know, charged or levied against him. We don't know what the exact charges are. Right now, we don't know what the exact charges are, but there was a video that was released earlier, just a few hours ago, where he was making comments like, and I can play one of those videos actually. He was making comments like, how are they going to arrest someone who doesn't, how are they going to charge someone for money laundering, someone who doesn't have money? How are you going to charge them for money laundering, right? You know, it sounded funny, but you know, if you have a case against you talking about money laundering issues, I don't think you should come out and be talking about that case. I just think it's ridiculous. But anyway, people will do what people do, right? And that's up to him. I'm gonna share this video here of the first video, at least, that we have of VDM out of jail, and we're gonna just take a listen real quick.
Money laundering, best friend don't get money. You don't launder your own money now. Who broke you a criminal? And not to give, and not to do charity. They do audio is debt to do charity.
So I'm just gonna stop playing.
Anyways, we're outside.
But here is video.
My lawyer,
his lawyer.
And you know what we do? We can never get inside when we have our lawyer
and you know, him just
so right now, by
excited and making those comments
about
at least $3,000 first when it starts. Who, you know, how are you gonna arrest someone and charge them with financial crimes for someone who doesn't have money, right? I think that's ridiculous, by the way, because, you know, if you are being charged for crimes like that or for something like that, you probably shouldn't be talking about it. But anyway, VDM the man is out, and his supporters are definitely outside, you know, excited which is a good thing. In my opinion, again, you shouldn't be celebrating when a man is, somebody is arrested in, especially in that manner. And it could be you, it could be anybody, it could, because this happens to Nigerians every day, right? It happens to Nigerians every day. Young Nigerians just walking around, they say, oh, you're a Yahoo boy, you're this, you're that, and then nobody knows about these people. But because of the social presence, the social media presence of VDM, obviously there was a lot of outrage. And I think on Monday, 2 days ago, Nigerians were on the street, fake protesting, fake protesting. But anyway, whether it's a fake protest or real protest, they were outside on the streets, talking about it on social media. People were talking about it. But the average Nigerian who's been arrested in the same manner or even worse by the EFCC, I don't think you would have that opportunity for people, for a whole lot of bunch of people, to be protesting for you. But hey, like him or hate him, we shouldn't want to be excited when somebody is arrested in this manner. I just think it's ridiculous. But you let me know if I'm going to end the video here, and you guys let me know if you think that arrest was justified or if it wasn't justified. I just think the arrest wasn't justified, but you let me know in the comment section. And with that, I'm going to say peace.